throughout the northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin area. But as far as Country Thunder is concerned, we got it. I'm confident that we'll have it handled. Country Thunder has been very cooperative with us since I've come on board. I don't concern with them, so we work together well.
Appreciate it. Good.
Yep.
Any other questions? Any? You students, any questions? Comments?
Well, I'd move to approve. It's not my area, but I'll move to approve.
Why not? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Supervisor Morrissey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Gray. Youth and Governance? Okay, committee?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right. All right, thank you. Oh, there it is. Well, I guess that's it. Jeez. No, we're not. Juvenile intake. Reading too far ahead. Juvenile intake. Hi, Mary, how are you?
Good evening, everyone.
Aye.
So I'm Mary Byard. I'm the Director of Juvenile Court Intake. I believe I've met all of you last year.
Mhm.
But for the students, if you allow me, I'd like to provide them a
Sure.
minute explanation of what my office does. Okay. So my office is the gatekeeper for the juvenile court. So if the school, police department, sheriff's department, DCFS, if an agency wants to refer a case into juvenile court, it comes through my office. We review the case and we make a decision. If it should continue on to court, it would go to the DA's office. We would request they file a petition. Or if we can divert the case from court, we try to meet with the family and resolve the issues within our office, and we sign a contract referred to as the deferred prosecution agreement. In a nutshell, that's what we do. The other big part of what we do is 24/7, we do custody intake. So if law enforcement, DCFS, crisis, they have a baby to a 17-year-old in their custody and they cannot find a resource for that individual, they contact us and we consider if we need to take physical custody and detain that individual. If we do detain, we decide where that individual is going to go until we have court, which is the next working day. That's it in a nutshell. Okay.
They know what DCFS is.
Oh, good.
I mean, I do, but.
The Division of Children and Family Services. A very large agency. They're located in the job center. But they receive all the child abuse and neglect referrals in the county. That good enough? They also supervise, once cases do go to court, they supervise those cases. Okay?
Okay, let's look at the numbers. Go ahead.
Okay. Everyone have them. I did bring extras if someone doesn't.
I think I have everything but that.
There you go.
Thank you.
So this
One
is
more.
one more. Okay. This is very similar to the handout I used last year. I just updated it with data. I could only update through the end of April. Because when I had to submit this, May had not yet ended. So I'll start at the top, court referrals. Those are those documents I was talking about. If you look at the 2024 number for delinquency, it's 268. That's not 268 youth. There are some duplicated youth in that count. Juvenile could get into trouble in January and December, and they would account for 2 of those referrals. Same with the next row, which is a juvenile in need of protection and services. Those are primarily school truants. They can be from kindergarten through senior. However, school district in both the city and the county tickets kids that are in high school that are usually older than a sophomore. Habitually truant is they miss 5 or more days in a semester without an excuse.
Those numbers are way up this year, looks like.
Yeah.
The first 4 months anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe it has to do with the reconstruction of the unified this last school year and how the boundaries were moved. And it's causing some of the little students or younger students in particular not to get to school because now they live too far and they're just on the border of getting a bus. So we work with those families. We did a lot of deferred prosecution agreements with those families and are working with the Unified. In fact, we met with the Unified 2 weeks ago to talk about our concern with transportation, and they're trying to work with us. So we have homeless families living at the hotels near the interstate. They also need busing. So Unified is cooperative once we bring it to their attention. So hopefully in the next year or so that will resolve and those numbers will come down. CHIPS referrals are also down. Those referrals come from DCFS, the Division of Children and Family Services. I believe that number took a dip because DCFS they have this program called in-home safety services where instead of removing a child, they try to keep the child in the home, but offer a lot of services in the home, multiple contacts every day. And I believe they had a new team. They had money to start another team. So they're able to keep more of those kids with their family instead of coming into court.
And CHIPS means,
I'm sorry?
and CHIPS means,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. CHIPS means Child in Need of Protection and Services. JIPS is Juvenile in Need of Protection and Services. Okay. Deferred prosecution agreement or deferred prosecution, those are those contracts I was referring to. I have 2 full-time intake workers that work with me in the office, and I assign cases to them to try and meet with families and resolve the cases outside of court. We are mostly successful unless the family chooses not to come and see us, or they come and see us and they don't agree to the terms that we want to have in the deferred prosecution agreement, or they don't agree on the underlying allegations. Could be a delinquent, and both the delinquent and the parent are contesting the facts and the reports. So that case would move on to the DA's office and district attorney's office, and they would decide if they're going to file a petition and bring that case into court. So once we sign those deferred prosecution agreements, those 2 staff also case manage those agreements. They can last from typically 3 months up to a year.
What are the expectations of the agreements? What is it normally?
All the agreements generally include follow your parents' rules, restrictions, go to school every day. Can also include restitution. That's when there's damage to property. We would order the juvenile to find a job, or we would help them get a job where they'd have to pay a victim back. Like if someone was injured and they had medical expenses, or if their car was damaged, we would help with that. We would set the dollar amount and help collect that. The other piece of that could be community service work. And we order juveniles to perform community service work. Some drug offenses require kids to complete 100 hours of community service work. And there are, I would say the majority of kids are able to do that. Some kids don't comply, and I should mention if the deferred prosecution agreement is not complied with, we close it out and we send it to the DA and we request a petition. So it's not like we're diverting you, okay, you're done. We continue to monitor. And if issues arise, we assess those issues and then we make a determination. We also include counseling, try to find counseling in the community. We have DCFS is kind enough to share resources of a contract with us, so we can refer to a program that we've called Court Referral Diversion Program. But like for the truants, they help us. If kids are stuck on a certain day, they may get them to school. If parents, or excuse me, if kids need counseling, they will connect them with counseling. So they're our hands out in the community and they work with us. And they do a great job. Any questions on DPAs? Yes.
Is it normal that the first 4 months of this year are up where they're at 89 total?
Are you talking about the truancy, the JIPs?
Yes.
I believe that's because of the boundary shift.
Okay.
It's not normal. No, I don't know why we're already.
I didn't
so
know if it was because it was the first half of the school year and then there's some.
They do send more referrals at the end of the school year, which would have been in the spring, than they
Yeah.
do at the beginning.
Right, that's
the
what I
other-
was wondering.
The other thing that could be playing into that is they could be referring families to us. So if there's someone in elementary and middle school, they're both truanting. Could be a number of people in that family. It depends how many family units we get, which could drive that number up.
So on the same level there, if they're habitual truants, do they get referred more? Are you seeing more of those or not necessarily? I don't know if they still ticket habitual
yeah.
truants
They,
or,
they still ticket. City can ticket 12 and older.
right?
And they do ticket a lot of the high school kids, especially middle school. I
Even
don't
the
think they're
habitual, I
ticketing
mean, ones that are more than normal
5
truants?
days or more.
Okay,
Mhm.
I didn't know if you were seeing more habitual truancy versus whatever.
Right.
And then under the chips for deferred prosecution, there hasn't been in the last couple of years. Is that just something that's gone away or is it just
I
a
think,
phenomenon that there isn't?
I think it happened more when everyone was remote. And DCFS wanted to do something. And so they asked us to sign, in those cases, it's referred to as informal disposition agreements. It's always an option. They can always make a referral. And it could also be, we haven't seen any because of the extra programming they got to keep kids in the home. That could also be a factor.
How much is a truancy ticket anyway?
Boy, I couldn't tell you.
I'm just curious.
I think a DC ticket is around 800,
I was gonna say 690, but I'm not
truancy.
sure.
right?
$690
It's like 60.
Right.
for a truancy ticket for someone who's been truant in high school over 5 days.
5 or more days. And
Wow.
believe me, they don't look like, ooh, he's 5 days and do it. It's kids that are habitual, many more,
Yeah,
many more. Mhm.
and if they don't pay, what's the,
I don't know what municipal court does. I believe they can enter a judgment,
Against
if
them?
there's non-compliance. I don't know if they can remove their driver's license anymore.
oh, they used to do that? really?
They used to be able to do that, but some of these kids don't have a driver's license, but it would take effect when they apply.
Yeah.
That, I don't have that answer. I don't feel comfortable guessing, but,
Thank you.
okay,
So to be habitual, does it mean to like have 5 truancies and then just continue to go past that constantly? Or
5 or more truancies in a semester. We encourage school districts not to send us a referral unless kids have at least 20. Because, sometimes parents have medical excuses and they just haven't acquired those medical excuses yet. And then the case gets to court, everyone does the work, and in comes the parent with all the excuses. So the DA's office has asked us to make sure we have more than 5, just to solidify the case a little better if it moves on to court. Okay. Custody intake. That's what we do 24/7. Myself, my 2 full-time intake workers, and I have 7 part-time intake workers. We all respond to a pager. Do you know what a pager is? You do? Okay.
I was about to say, of course I know what a pager is.
They watch TV and
You weren't addressing us.
I was addressing them because there are a lot of young law enforcement officers that have never seen a pager before and they don't know how to use it. So we provide, KPD and KSD Pleasant Prairie too with training a few times a year when all the new staff start. We bring a pager, we call it, we go through the whole process so they understand how it works. It works for us because it's one number that you call across 9 pagers. So it's not like they're calling everyone's individual cell number, because then I'd be getting all the calls when someone doesn't answer. This way it's a pager and everyone responds to that one pager number. So it's 24/7. We respond to calls for situations where a child needs to go to foster care because their parent's not well. They're maybe hospitalized and they can't care for them and there's no relative options. We could decide to get a call. Not we decide, but law enforcement could call us, ask that we hold someone in secure custody for a very serious crime, like stealing a car, like lighting a car on fire, a burglary, armed robbery. We look at those cases seriously and we make a determination if the juvenile should be held or not. For delinquency, when we make those decisions, the next step is where we're going to go. If we're going to be holding the juvenile in secure detention, we're also the travel agent. Because as all of you know, we do not have a local detention center. So we send our juveniles primarily to Washington County Detention in West Bend. We currently have juveniles in Rock County today and Washington County. This year we've had kids in Racine, Sheboygan, Portage, and Fond du Lac in addition. All the facilities seem to have room when we need it. We have a couple of years ago had situations where the particular youth had special needs and the facility couldn't accommodate and we were having a hard time finding room. And that may still happen again, but with each and every case, we seem to be able to find room if we need it.
I have a question.
Yes,
Why so many different? Is it because each one accommodates something different, or it's because you have to call to see
we
who
have
has
to
what's
call,
available?
we have to call them all. So, Racine, some of you may know Racine just opened a facility on the north side of Racine. They closed their current facility, which was on Taylor, and now they're in Caledonia. That facility has drastically changed. It's housing youth that would have gone to corrections, which is Lincoln Hills, like a prison.
Mhm.
But now kids will go to that facility and they have a limited number of beds now for what I refer to as general population, kids coming in on new offenses or a sanction. Sanction is where they violated their orders and they need to be held. So it all depends where, if we have truants that go to detention, our judges hold kids in their court very accountable. Both our judges do sanction teenagers who are not following their court orders and they're not attending school. The law limits the days they can be held to 7 days. And sometimes the judges will send them for a weekend. Sometimes they'll impose the full 7 days. We currently have 4 kids on a waiting list to go to detention once school ends. Judges want them to finish school and then they'll go to detention, but that's a mix of the truants and the delinquents. So we have to, when we do send a youth to detention, we have to do a full medical screen, not like a physical, but we have a list of questions that we need to give the facility before the facility will say, okay, we'll take them. Primarily has to do with mental health questions. And then we also have to ask the parents those same questions and get clearance. That help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So if we look at the custody intake data, so far this year, we've detained 28 youth for delinquency. We've authorized, or through April, we've authorized 36 detentions for children in need of protection and services. And then we received 99 other calls for service. Maybe a call from law enforcement where they're not quite sure what they wanted. And we talk it over with them. And their parent is willing to have them home, and we say, it's okay to release them, just send the charges over. Or it could be a runaway a call we could get from DCFS or crisis. And we talk that through, and there are voluntary options for our runaway youth at our shelter care Kaufman House. So we might say, let's try that first. And if the issue doesn't resolve, then we'll consider taking custody and bringing it into court. So it's not like every call we get, we automatically detain. We really try to screen each and every call. And I'm sure Supervisor Morrissey can remember from when he was with the police department that sometimes we didn't make officers happy. We don't always agree, but we agree to disagree. We ask them to understand our side and why we're not holding or why we're holding in non-secure custody. And everything does work out. I got a call, I think it was last week, from a sergeant who just called me randomly, didn't understand why we were not doing anything. And once I talked with him, he was like, okay, now I get it. So
I will say to her, every time I called Miss Fire, she held everybody out of questions.
You made him happy.
We had a great relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last chart on the bottom specifically addresses the youth that have gone to secure detention over the years. Through April, 19 youth were held for a new delinquent act. That would be law enforcement calling us for one of those offenses that I described. Capious or warrant. Oddly, that's only one. I don't know why that's so low. There's been 0 truancy sanctions since April, but April till now, there's been more than a few. Sanctioned delinquent, that's someone on delinquency supervision who is not following their orders. Condition of disposition, that is like at the time of sentencing, that's what disposition is in juvenile court. The judge can impose days in detention as part of the sentence. So it's called condition of disposition. Short-term hold, that's similar to a probation hold that probation and parole would use for an adult defendant. In juvenile court, it's called short-term hold. It's for up to 72 hours. And that those short-term holds are imposed by DCFS workers or other reasons. Trying to think what could be an other reason. Judge could take someone into custody at court and say, I'm holding this juvenile until he goes to placement next week. Placement could be a group home. It's just miscellaneous reason. That doesn't fit all the other ones. We have currently spent through April, 170,000. Supervisor Morrissey did ask me before we went on the record, how much do I have budgeted? This year I have $350,000 budgeted, but I have $263,000 that were carried over from last year. So from year to year, I have this chunk of carryover that does come with me and kind of saves us when we do go over budget. There's also an ongoing budget resolution that has been on the books forever, that if I would hit the top and go over budget between my department and DCFS, Division of Children and Family Services, if they have excess, or if I have excess and they need it, we can move money between our budgets. Yes.
So, in my glasses this time of day, but 788 total days billed. What is the average, if there is one, for people being held? Probably more so for the new delinquent acts. Again, I'm not sure, right? Because there's
Right.
29 actual people, individuals that have been held, but
Right,
so, and then
that,
to follow up on kind of what Supervisor Garcia was saying, when you go to these different counties, they're different prices as well, right? Because I think
Correct.
if I remember correctly, Racine is going to be extremely expensive.
correct, good question. So length of stay can vary depending on the reason held. For a new delinquent act, if the youth is age 15 or older and the DA's office files a waiver petition, that means that the DA's office would like the court, the judge, to consider that the youth be waived into adult court. There's no time limit for that hearing to be conducted. Could essentially be set 3 months out, 90 days out. But I had approached our judges a few years ago and I said, I want to implement a policy to bring that number down to 30 days. Give or take a few days depending on the judge's schedule. So we try to do those hearings in 30 days. We had 5 juveniles in detention this year who were involved in one case. And there were waiver petitions filed on every one. And then once, if they were not waived, then it goes back to start over. And they have to enter a plea to the case. They can ask for a court trial. It could take another 30, 60 days. We had one youth today. He moved on to programming. We've had him in detention 112 days. So some kids are very long, where sanctions can be anywhere from a couple days to maybe 20, maybe 30. Average length of stay, I would guess last year was around 8, 9 days. Because of those 5 kids that stayed longer this year, it probably drove that number up. I just don't have that. And what was the second part of that? Oh, how much? So I have the prices here for this year. The lowest is Fond du Lac coming in at $150 a day. Racine, I signed a contract to use beds as needed for $375 a day. I understand, or they actually reached out to counties now statewide. They're willing to lower that, but they still want to commit to beds. So I hope to talk to them to try and negotiate something where I could buy a chunk of days rather than 365 days. Because the problem with that is if I have a youth in there and they're released, then I got to try to find someone to put in there. So it's going to create more work for the sheriff's department driving kids around. Washington County is $225 a day. They're about in the middle. They have a school within their facility. It's called the Washington Street School. And their school day is from 8:30 to 2 daily. Kids are in the classroom. The only reason they wouldn't be in the classroom is if they're sick or if they have court. Or if for some reason they're combative and can't be around other kids. Then they would be given their schoolwork in their cell. Majority of kids that come out of Washington County earn credits, and some kids earn a lot of credits, high school credits. So they work really good with our kids. During the summer, they offer summer school. So the West Bend School District comes into the facility. I believe that's the concept now at the new Racine facility. They're trying to do the same thing. Does that help answer questions?
Has that cost dropped since they last? Because I thought it was about $600 a bed last time they said.
Racine?
Yeah, so it's already dropped to 300?
It bounces around. So that before I got the contract, it was going to be more. It was going to be 500 or 600. And then I saw the contract and it was 375. I signed that contract in April. They opened May 17th. And last week I received an email that if you want to buy 2 beds, we'll even offer you a better deal.
Sales.
Most of you are probably not were on the board when we contracted with Racine for 20 beds a day. There was a time, a number of years, we locked in for 5 years at 20 beds a day.
At
And
what
we
part?
billed about 10 a day. It was not a good time. So that's why we're kind of reluctant to buying beds. 2 beds wouldn't be bad, but I'd like to try and buy days rather than a year of a
Yeah.
bed.
What are they
What-
based? Oh, sorry.
What's the contract you have now? Is it beds or days with Racine?
We're as needed.
Oh, it's just as needed.
Yeah.
There is no guaranteed
No,
10.
no. If I would have signed the contract for 1 bed all year, I wouldn't have money to pay for anyone else.
What do they base the daily rate at? I mean, why is there such a disparity, 150 all the way to 350? It seems like
I-
year and 10, I
Yeah.
mean, you probably want to go to the 150 first and then
Right.
work your
Well-
way up.
Each facility is run either by the sheriff's department or by the human services department. So Washington County is run by their sheriff's department. Fond du Lac Sheriff, Sheboygan Sheriff, Racine is human services. I believe Rock County is human services, as is Portage. I don't know if that makes a difference. I really can't tell you how they determine the rate, but I know that, there's, I think, 11, 12 facilities in the state, and they do all share information, so they know what each other charges. So what is a rate this year may not be the rate next year.
So for these kids that were held 100 and whatever days plus, would you prefer that they're be placed in Washington because they have the school and, or does that not make a difference?
Consistency is good. Washington County, as all the other facilities do now, it took a while for all the other facilities to catch up, but even medical, because they have the jail, they also do medical. We had a juvenile run out of a med today, and the manager said, you know what, that's a med used a lot on the adult side. I'm gonna see if we could use it until we get a new prescription filled. We talk with Washington County probably 3-4 times a day. We just have a very good working relationship.
I just have one more. So you talked about you're the travel agency. Do the majority of these individuals have to come back for in-person court, or is there virtual now?
Another good question. Thank you. I'm gonna say COVID, pre-COVID, everyone came to court every single time. So if over a weekend, we detained 4 kids in detention and they were at all different detention centers, sheriff's department had to go to 4 different places and bring them to court on Monday. Which sometimes, depending on the weather, depending on manpower, it was a nightmare. How it works currently is for the detention hearing, all the initial hearings, the detention hearing, the initial appearance, pretrial, those are all done by Zoom. It also depends on the judge. Some judges will say, I will do phone hearings. Some judges say, I will do Zoom hearings. Depending on the hearing, if it's a longer hearing and you want the juvenile to understand what's happening to them, like that dispositional hearing I explained, or the waiver hearing, the juvenile's in person, court trial's in person, which is good.
Is that your expense or the sheriff's expense?
Sheriff's expense, so it has come down. Zoom isn't always the most friendly tool to use, but it has helped out.
Oh, yeah.
That actually leads me into my next question. So I know each facility charges different, but say like, is it worth paying $375 at Racine? And is that bringing our conveyance costs down? Do you know?
I would not say so, because for every juvenile in detention, they may only come to court once. But the other 3 hearings, they appeared by Zoom. The sanction hearings, I said I have 4 waiting to go to detention when school ends. Sheriff's Department isn't taking them at all. Parents are, or the social worker or a provider.
So they're in detention, but the parents could pick them up to bring them to court.
Yeah. Oh, not court. This would be like, sanctions where the kids are like they have to go for 7 days.
Oh,
They have
okay,
a start
The
date and
terms of
end
the-
date. The parents do the transportation.
okay.
And we have some parent, like, I have to go where? Yes, you have to go. So. But it's also part of learning, like, even for the juvenile, we have some kids we send to detention and they think they're 2 states away because they've never traveled that far before. We were sending a youth to Washington County and she started crying. She thought she was going to Washington State. So,
Any other questions, comments? Mary?
How far is Washington County? I'm not familiar.
hour, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's not.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Definitely get there before you get to Washington State.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. For the
So I think you're gonna see me next budget month.
in 4 months,
October is my
October, is
next
that-
month. So I would assume at the budget meeting, I'll give a abbreviated presentation.
yeah,
Cause I don't think you meet twice in October.
I don't know, October's a busy month because we have our county board meeting, we
Right.
have our committee meetings, and then that's also the time when we have our budgetary meetings.
Right.
And then the end of the month, we have our, finance committee meetings
Right.
all month.
Right.
So
So just let me know what you.
we'll
want
work
me to
something
do.
out.
Okay.
Email Supervisor Belsky. Sure.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Man. The motion receiving following us or not?
Oh, I don't know, do we?
I would think if she gave us something physically, right?
It was part of
But
the
if-
agenda.
It was part of the agenda, so. I don't know. But did Supervisor Belsky say anything about that?
No, I just
Okay.
took it as, it's just how, like, the sheriff presents.
All right, we'll leave it as is then. Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second? All those in favor?
Aye.